First, greed. That's the bitter charge now being levelled against the Reed Construction Group by its Building the Education Revolution subcontractors, many who have had their businesses and livelihoods destroyed. Premier Barry O'Farrell has been in talks with the company this week and has commissioned an urgent reassessment of financial disputes. The Reed Group is in admitted financial difficulties, with claims and counterclaims running about how one of this country's biggest construction companies managed the massive stimulus spend, up to $400 million, it received from the federal government. The Reed Group, attracted by generous management fees, was among a select group of top construction companies chosen by the then state government to manage the BER money rolled out 2 years ago. Many of the small builders who won competitive tenders for BER work administered by the Reed Group are themselves insolvent or facing insolvency. The recriminations come as the families dependent on cash flow from the work they believed would secure their immediate futures did not materialise. Caro Meldrum-Hanna investigates.
Six months ago, construction giant the Reed Group was at the top of its game. Sponsor of NRL champions the Manly Sea Eagles, the recipient of billions of dollars worth of government building and infrastructure works, for Reed, that winning feeling seems something of a permanent fixture. But not everyone got lucky.
They were a big company that were very, very greedy, and they didn't care who they hurt on the way.
This is the holiday town of Foster, on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Home to many small builders and subcontractors, along this coastline, the Reed Group conjures memories not of victory, but of agonising defeat.
It's hard to believe that's 15 years of our life, just there in front of us.
This is all that remains of Bernard and Susan Jones' building and engineering business, Complete Engineering, after the administrators tore through 12 months ago.
Thought that when Reeds came up and they had that meeting with us introducing the BER, that it was going to be the saving grace to keep us going.
It was government back, it was guaranteed.
When the financial crisis hit 2 years ago, the once profitable stream of mining engineering work the Jones relied on began to dry up. If their company was to survive, it needed to diversify.
The government released the school projects, and it was there for people like us that were in the industry that were extremely struggling.
So we're well underway.
Like hundreds of other small businesses and subcontractors across the state, for the Jones, what looked so right from the outside couldn't have been more wrong.
We took on a few of those schools and they went quite well for us and everything went along, and then they just kept coming. Everything seemed to be going all right and the payments stopped.
So what happened? What happened to Complete Engineering?
Well, unfortunately it folded. One day we went to work and the doors were locked. And
You literally locked out?
Literally locked out. Everything we sowed our life into for 15 years was locked behind the iron doors. I mean, the money was there, we were owed it. We hadn't mismanaged it, it was there. It's just, it didn't come in time.
You lost your business?
Yep.
You lost your livelihood?
Yep.
How do you make ends meet now?
It's tough. I've taken a job at the local supermarket and I work as a checkout chick, as the kids say.
With the collapse of their business, the Jones found themselves bankrupt and homeless, unpaid for tens of thousands of dollars worth of BER work they completed under managing contractor Reed.
It's still tough. Everything we owned went to auction and yeah, you feel robbed. You feel robbed. You see it go down the highway to someone else. It hurts.
If you had your time over again, would you have taken on that BER work?
No, never. Never in a million years. Never in a million years. Would have never taken it on.
They can't just not pay us and just walk away. It's just totally wrong. I don't know how they can get away with it, working for the government.
Across town, another lone subcontractor is just holding on.
I was a plumber on the site.
Were you paid?
No, I completed the work and I'm still owed $44,000.
How long have you been waiting?
2 years.
Carl and Sue Organ are just two of many, left out of pocket when the small building company they were subcontracted to, Cape View Developments, went bust, carrying out several BER school projects under managing contractor Reed. What was it like working for Cape View as a company? Did they know what they were doing?
I worked for Capeville before the school work, and they were fine. We're doing domestic housing, a lot of domestic housing. I don't know if this job was too much from what I don't really know that, but all I know is they got in a lot of trouble on this job and they couldn't finish it.
The question is, how did Cape View Developments collapse under the watch of managing contractor Reed? 7:30 found the former director of Cape View working on the roads, here on this stretch of highway in northern New South Wales.
Yes, it's one of the biggest regrets of my life, even thinking about taking on this work.
Up until today, Eddie Kieran has refused to speak publicly about what happened to his company, but he has agreed to talk to 7:30.
I was in pretty bad way. If it wasn't for my wife and two very good friends of mine, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today.
Well, Eddie, so this is it. This is what remains of your company, Cape View, before the administrators tore through and basically took everything?
That's it. This is one of the schools that brought us undone.
So Pacific Palms really was your undoing there at the end?
It was. We were basically told to rest assured because the government would be watching Reeds very closely and nothing would happen.
So who assured you? Representatives from the government and
Yes,
Reed?
representing both Reeds and the government. They were all there and all pretty solid on the fact that it was safe.
When work began on site, Cape View kept pace, but soon fell behind, struggling to keep up with Reed's demands.
They like pushing, they pushed hard, even if the situation wasn't your fault, like with rain, no flexibility at all as far as I was concerned. They just started hammering harder. When they thought you were down, they gave you a couple of kicks.
But the biggest shock was yet to come, when Eddie Kieran's co-director at Cape View resigned.
Within a month, my ex-partner all of a sudden appeared for Reeds as a supervisor. Yes, which you could have blown me away when that happened. And then Reeds told me that my ex-partner was going to supervise my jobs, which I point blank refused. I said, don't even go there. After that, it became pretty much impossible to deal with Reeds. It just went downhill.
Despite all of this, Eddie Kieran managed to finish and hand over all except one of the schools. But in the process, his company Cape View was facing financial ruin under the might of Reed.
It got to the point where you'd put in an invoice and they'd turn around and say, no, you can't have that because you've claimed for 80% and we got you at 75% and things like that.
Did you communicate to representatives from Reed how dire the situation was?
They weren't interested. We constantly told them that. They just kept sending emails back saying, yeah, you're not getting paid because our figures say that we owe you this much and you owe far more to your trades. So there was no way in the world they were going to come to the party.
Down the line, Eddie Kieran's trades or subcontractors were desperately waiting for payment. But Cape View had nothing in the bank, hitting rock bottom and going under, taking many subcontractors down with it.
After dealing with Cape View for quite some time, you actually get off the phone with the reality that they can't do anything about it. It's someone above them is strangling them, and it's not actually them personally. And then all of a sudden reality hits that you are in exactly the same position as them. You can't pay the person that's ringing you.
And we were guaranteed by Reeds if we keep going and complete the job, we'll get paid by Reeds. And we did that, and as soon as we finished, Reeds basically just fobbed us off and didn't do a thing.
With so many broken promises and so much financial ruin laid bare, there are now calls for a government inquiry into Reed's conduct as a managing contractor.
This is just an absolute sham, and what we need to do is to make sure by having a more broader investigation right across this state about the security of payments and the way it's administered.
Why hasn't the government done that?
Because the government are looking after the big end of town. That's what it's all about.
We had a meeting with the BR and Reeds Constructions. This was back in June of last year, and we were told within 3 months of that meeting we'll be paid our money. So now it's nine months later, we still haven't been paid, and I've got a contract here from Reeds where they're going to pay us today, which is the 13th of March, and I spoke to them today and they said they're not paying because they're claiming the government still owes them money and they're not paying us.
And if Reed has its way, the government will bail it out of its current financial woes.
Well, there's a good reason for it. It's because they're all on state government projects, and at the end of the day, we're not talking about Reed. We're talking about 1,500 small Australian businesses, and we're talking about 10,000 jobs.
But for so many small builders who long ago paid the ultimate price, carrying out government work, their situation is beyond repair.
We sowed our life into that, and if people above us hadn't mismanaged what had happened, we would still be moving along.
Cara Meldrum-Hanna reporting. We sought an interview with Jeff Reed, CEO of the Reed Group. He was unavailable. Finance Minister Greg Pearce and the Premier's office have told us a specially commissioned reassessment of disputes involving Reed Group subcontractors is now underway by financial services consultancy BRI Ferrier. The Ferrier report is expected next week, after which the government could act to enforce existing security of payments legislation. If they haven't already done so, distressed subcontractors should lodge claims through the government's website nswprocurement.gov.au.